Hey guys, welcome back. So in this episode, I actually happened to find the design files for Spotify right here. So check it out. Um, this is pretty cool. They got this interactive prototype here. Um, you can kind of switch between songs. You can swipe up and down, and you can even search for things. So here it is. Or if I can put that away, or anyway, yeah, pretty cool, huh? Actually, just kidding. This is a prototype I built in Figma. And here you can see all the various nodes and ways that the different pages are connected. So this is what the design view of a prototype in Figma looks like. So the way I did this is I took a whole bunch of screenshots on my phone. I just got a new, well, it's not new, but I bought a refurbished iPhone 7, took screenshots, and you can see some of these are pretty long here. So I actually had to stitch a bunch of images together in Photoshop. But I've used some other prototyping programs, and what's really cool about Figma is just how advanced the interaction features are. I'm going to show you how I did all that, and I'm going to provide you with the source files to be able to do something just like this. All right, so stick around. All right, so for this project, I'm actually just going to start from scratch, and I have provided you with some images that you can use. So to get started, go to figma.com and log in, and you'll go to this files area. So you're just going to click plus. We're going to start a brand new file. Okay, totally blank. And where it says untitled, we are just going to call this Spotify. We want to create our first frame, so F is the keyboard shortcut for that. So F for frame, or you can just click up here. And I've designed these for the iPhone 7 and 8, so we're going to choose 8. And here it is. All right, so here's where we import the files into our scene. So I'm going to click plus to create a new tab, and the link I created is bit.ly/Spotify assets. All right, so you should have access to this whole folder, and it has all the images that I used for this. So basically these are numbered by page. So I've got the home page, and I just want to point out something about these images. They actually don't have the header or footer bars on them because I have those as separate elements. So here you can see, and also it's very tall. So this is obviously much taller than a normal iPhone screen, and that's so that we can scroll. So normally you would see like the battery and the time and like the carrier and all that on the top, and then you'd see the controls down here, but I've removed all those. I'm going to select these and then right click and just choose download. So once you do that, I'm actually going to create a couple of what are called assets first. So I'm going to start actually with the footer and the top bar. So I'm going to drag this right into Figma, and you notice it's a bit big, so I'm going to have to scale it down. So hold Shift, drag until it snaps into place. And you'll know it's in place because the red lines will show up. And what I'm going to do is right click. So I'm sorry, I called it asset. It's actually a component. So you're going to right click, click create component. And what that does is it makes it a reusable element that shows up in assets, which you'll see is right here. And it's called top bar. And the reason we want to do this is because we're going to be reusing this on every single page. Well, almost every single page. And so we don't want to have to be like recreating over and over and over. We want to be able to, if I make a change once, it'll change on every single page. So let's just start by working on this. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to add the carrier and the time here. So T is the hotkey for text. I'm going to click and drag, and then I'm going to write ATP, and then LTE. And then I'm going to highlight that. And for the fill, change that to white. Okay, so it looks pretty good. Just adjust the edge here. And so now you can either hold hold Alt and drag to the middle. You can also click on it. You can press Control D, and that will duplicate it. So those are two ways you can make copies. There's more, but those are the main ones. And I'm just going to center it right here. So center text line, double click. I'm just going to put my current time. So 4:29. Okay, so that's my first asset, or my first component. So the second one is going to be the control bar at the bottom. So I'm going to take this, it's footer-library, drag that in, hold shift, drag that down. Okay, and what I want to do is I'm actually going to have 4 buttons. There's going to be a button here for the album, one for the home, one for search, and one for library. And I don't want to have to recreate those several times. So I'm going to press R for the rectangle tool, and I'm going to make an invisible tile or square here. So I'm going to drag just a square over there, where I want basically the hot area to be, or the hot spot, just a clickable area. And right now it's gray. To make this transparent, one way you can do that is I'm just going to make it black. And then right here where it says pass through, change that to screen. And screen, the way that works is it only lets lighter things show up. Or actually anything lighter than black will show up. Everything else is invisible. Okay, so I created that button. And over here in layers, this is just called rectangle. I'm just going to call this hotspot. Okay, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to create component out of that. Okay, so now that is going to show up in assets as a reusable thing, along with top bar. All right, and so now I'm going to take that and I'm going to duplicate it for these other buttons. So you can either Alt drag into place and just adjust the size. And you want to make it kind of big. People have big fingers. At least maybe I have big fingers. Okay, so this whole thing at the bottom here, I'm going to select this whole thing by basically I'm just clicking and dragging. And that's how you select a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to right click and make this entire thing a component. And so over here, it's just called component. I'm just going to call this footer. So now the next thing I want to do is make it so that these are anchored to the top and bottom. Okay. So I'm going to click here. And over here on the right, under constraints, so you have these little blue notches here. So I want to click on this center horizontal notch. That's going to make it so it's horizontally centered. So from left to right, it's going to be in the middle. And then I have the top blue notch selected so that it's going to be anchored to the top. And then I'm going to check this box that says fix position while scrolling, which means as I scroll up the page, this isn't going to scroll with it. It's just going to stay put. I'm going to do something similar with this. Click on it, but I'm going to click the bottom in the center and check that box. Okay. And so now that that's set up, you see there's these little triangles. So these are kind of like folders. So all these hotspots in the footer image, those are all under this footer component. And then this top bar is all under this. So I'm just going to call this. Okay, so now I want to add the actual page. And the reason I'm doing these things first is so when we duplicate this layout, it's going to save us a ton of time. Okay, so now this is going to be my home page. So I'm going to take home, drag that right in here. Okay, so you notice it's cropped. I'm going to hold shift, drag to that edge. drag to this edge, okay, and then drag it so that the top, it's aligned to the very top. And then I'm going to drag the bottom right so that the right edge matches. So now, obviously this goes past the height of this template. So if I want to extend how tall this is, I'm just going to click the title of this frame, and then I'm going to drag the bottom edge until it shows the entire thing. Well, actually, until we're right about there. Okay, one thing you might have noticed is that this homepage is covering up the top bar, and it was covering up this as well. And we can fix that by moving this to the back. So I'm going to click on it, and then right-click and choose Send to Back. And so hopefully now that shows up on the top. And I'm just going to actually double-click on that, and then just call it Home. Okay. So to preview this, to see if all this is working, I'm going to hit play. And so you can see I can scroll. Ooh, I'm not scrolling. Okay, so something is wrong. The reason that that happened, and I'm not sure why this happened, it has this box checked for a fixed position when scrolling. So I'm just going to uncheck that. And there you go. Now it's working. Okay, one last thing. As I drag up, you notice this white area is exposed. So I want to make that dark to match the background of Spotify. So to do that, I'm going to click on Home on the title of the frame. And then over here it says Fill. Click that, click the eyedropper, and I'm just going to click on the background. So now if I hit play and I drag up, you notice that white spot doesn't show up. In the next video, I'm going to make a copy of this page, and then I'm going to start adding some interactions.